Hello everyone, welcome back to the Clap Podcast. As always, I'm here with Toby Yeomans. How are you, Toby?
I'm good. How are you, Frosty?
I'm really good. And we have a special guest on this week's show. We have the wonderful...
Timothy Chalamet.
Woo!
Not actually.
No, we have Thomas Kokkinos joining us.
Thank you for having me.
No, of course. We're very, very glad you can come and join us for this week's episode. We have a lot to talk about this week.
Indeed.
I think we have to start with the question that we both ask each other normally, but we feel you're our guest. You should start. What have you watched this week?
I guess Dune 2.
Dune 2.
That's what I've watched, yeah.
A lot of people have also watched Dune 2 this week. I'm glad. We're going to get into our thoughts on it later on in the episode. But first, Toby, what about you? What have you been up to this week?
I obviously went and saw Dune 2 as well, as expected of me. I also watched one of Denis Villeneuve's other films, Sicario.
Oh, wonderful.
And then I watched Paprika. And people who love Inception, eat your heart out. Paprika was better.
How dare you? How dare you? It can't be better than my Nolan.
Anyway, what have you watched, Frosty?
I've watched quite a few things this week. I watched Sicario as well, in prep for next week's episode about Denis. But I also watched American Fiction in preparation for the Oscars. And I also watched the Gentleman TV series. I watched the first 2 episodes. So for anyone who's been excited about that one, it has released on Netflix now. It came out yesterday, which that is the 8th of March for those who don't know what time we're recording. But yeah, so we've watched a lot this week. Dune Part 2 has dominated the headlines. I think that's what everyone's talking about. And we, as the Clap Podcast, will also do the same thing and talk about Dune Part 2 as well.
We'll get into it.
We will. But we have some news. We got our first look at Tron Ares. This will star Jared Leto and Cameron Monaghan. I mean, for those of you who don't know who Jared Leto is, he was last seen in Blade Runner 2049, of course, Requiem for a Dream, Morbius, House of
Squad.
Gucci.
People loved him in
Suicide Squad.
Right.
Yeah. His wonderful portrayal of the Joker.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I'm really glad we have Joaquin Phoenix's version. But he was also in American Psycho as well. And for those of you who don't know, Cameron Monaghan was actually in those Star Wars Jedi games. Do you remember those?
Oh,
yeah.
Is he the main?
He was the main guy. He was the Jedi.
Which games? Oh.
Star Wars Fallen Order and Survivor.
That's right.
So that was kind of his last big role, and he was doing all the Comic-Con, so he's kind of become sort of a
Didn't he
figure.
play the Joker as well?
He did play the Joker.
Yeah. Oh, what's it
Was it
called?
Gotham?
Yeah, the double Joker.
Gotham. Oh my gosh, he did. So basically, it's a film of past Jokers. I wonder if Joaquin Phoenix is going to make a cameo. So at the moment, the film is in production, and it's expected in theaters in 2025. I'm really excited. You know I love Tron Legacy. Yeah. That's a real guilty pleasure of mine. The Daft Punk soundtrack. Joseph Kosinski, who has now made Top Gun Maverick. I mean, massive director now. I really, really enjoyed Tron Legacy. It's a real favorite of mine. I just saw it with my dad recently in IMAX 3D. I do love it. But this new one will be directed by a different person. It's, again, I'm probably going to ruin his name. I apologize. But it's Joachim Ronning. I want to say that's right. Sure. But he has previously directed Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales, Maleficent 2, and the film Kon-Tiki. So he's had some notable work. Very Disney-centric, but all good. Toby, do you want to take us to the next part?
Yeah, no worries. So there's a Dune prequel series that is expected to arrive in 2024.
Yeah, interesting, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So it is going to be called Dune, funnily enough, the Sisterhood, and it is being made by HBO.
Well,
so
the people who made Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. So
yeah,
it'll be a good couple seasons, and then there'll be an average one at the end there.
Without spoilers, TK, I know you've watched Dune Part 2 twice now. Are you excited to see more in the Dune universe in a TV show format? Or would you rather just... Because I think it's going to be about the Bene Gesserits. So I don't know how they were for you, but you're going to get a spin-off show about them. How do you feel?
That's quite interesting, because I think with TV shows, they tend to go more into depth with world building, I feel. Like,
you're
they
not
get more
wrong.
time to build up sort of like what's going on and where it is and all that. So I do like that idea.
Yeah.
And the Bene Gesserits are interesting, so...
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. I agree. And I think it being made by HBO... I trust that they're going to do right by the IP and things like that.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, you look at Game of Thrones. I know I made fun of it before, but like realistically, the show was fantastic.
Yeah,
throughout
it's
its
really
run.
good.
And world building.
Yeah, world building was
Yes,
fantastic.
of course.
So you can't knock HBO for what they do with TV series.
They get big budgets as well, don't
Yeah,
they?
get
They
pretty
do.
solid budgets.
They do.
And big actors as well. At least they make some pretty big actors.
Yeah.
Too.
And this is supposed to be a prequel, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that
Yeah,
as
very
well.
exciting for that one.
Some other news, which I think I know it's not the biggest news coming out this week, but I think it's something to note because I especially love this film. I know you did as well, Toby.
Yeah.
But Damien Chazelle reveals he is actually working on a new script, which of course I'm always excited about. Whiplash, First Man,
Yeah,
Babylon,
some
all
good
really
scripts.
great films. But he's unsure if it'll even get made after Babylon. And this is the quote that he said, "I won't get a budget of that size anytime soon, or at least not on the next one." Because Babylon really didn't do well at the box office.
Yeah.
It,
Did you see that one, TK?
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't
you
actually
haven't
seen
seen
it.
Babylon
No,
yet.
no.
I really enjoyed it. It is
Yeah.
very niche. And I'm in the minority saying that I think it's genuinely one of the best films I've seen. I
Really?
really, really enjoy it. And I'm completely open to say that. I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant. But it is not for everyone. It's very extravagant,
I have heard that.
very bold. And a lot of people don't enjoy that. And I can totally understand that opinion.
Yeah.
I personally don't have that. I think it's brilliant in what it
No,
does.
I really enjoyed it as well. I also just love the director. Whiplash is actually one of my favorite films.
Yes. Yeah, Whiplash is
I
terrific.
just think the direction that he takes in this film is fantastic.
Mm.
Taking the drums on the side.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I am disappointed to see that he won't be able to, or at least he's worried about getting a new script made. But I suppose that's the risk you run when you're making big budget films like Babylon.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say it's interesting. He says I won't get a budget of that anytime soon. Is he suggesting that he's not?
They're not going to invest in him
whatever
as a
he's-
filmmaker
yeah.
because of the poor performance. I mean,
Right,
Babylon
so
lost
it's
money
more-
at the box office. It
'Cause-
lost money,
I mean, I'm not
unfortunately.
sort of knowledgeable at my directors, or script writers, but is he like quite famous or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. He is. I mean, Whiplash
I know
was
Whiplash,
made
yeah.
with not a lot of money and made a lot of money.
And,
Yeah,
it, and it
yeah.
was a short film to start off with.
It was.
He started off
That's
with a short
right,
film, and then they turned it into a full feature-length film because it was such a well-made short film.
And I actually believe, for anyone who's interested, that on some of the physical releases of that, they have that short film
Yeah.
as a special extra,
That's cool.
special feature. I'm not sure if it's a 4K or a special edition or anything like
I've
that.
seen
But
some scenes from it. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's just not as stylized as
No.
Whiplash. It's a similar story. And it
Yeah.
still has what's his name? Don't know it.
I don't know his name on top of my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson?
He's
Or is
the-
that his
That's
role?
his-
That's his role in
That's who he
Spider-Man.
plays,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, that's so
Oh,
funny.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
should
my
know his
bad.
name. He's a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Miles Teller, is it?
Miles Teller, yeah.
Miles Teller.
one of
But
Miles'
I thought First Man. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's his strongest work, but I did enjoy First Man for what it was. So I thought that one was a good addition. And of course, La La Land. I mean, that won a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really popular film as well.
Sure.
So, interesting news. In the US, Apple TV Plus subscribers will now be able to stream over 50 new movies from a variety of studios. So, not just the ones that are made for Apple.
Right.
So, this includes Mad Max Fury Road, Titanic, Zoolander, A Star is Born. And many of these will be available in 4K, which is terrific. And a few of these will even be available on 3D for those of you who can afford the Apple Vision Pro. But this is just limited to the US. So, we do not get this here. It will be available until April, with a few expiring in March. But I think that's really interesting that Apple is clearly experimenting with new studio titles in its catalog
Yeah.
and seeing whether it brings more people in. Because I know a few people who'd probably be, especially in the US, be interested in 50 new movies for, and Apple's a reasonably affordable streaming service compared to the others.
Yeah. My one thing with Apple, though, is that I feel like you pay for the service and then you also have to pay for some of the things you get with the service, I think. Is that
Well,
true?
it's just people get confused because it's attached to the iTunes
Yeah,
store or
but
the
I've
Apple
seen-
store. But any of their original programming
Is
and
free,
films
yeah.
is all free.
with the service, yeah.
It's a bit like how Amazon works as a marketplace
okay.
and a subscription service as
that
well.
makes more sense. Yeah.
But clearly they're experimenting with bringing some of those over and seeing whether it builds their subscribers. Because I think a lot of people are like, why should I get Apple TV Plus
yeah.
when you get like 2 or 3 decent movies every 6 months or so? But at the moment, you've got Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon. So if you really want to, see some of the Oscars films, see some of the ones that are making the headlines, it's definitely a streaming service worth having.
No, it's interesting that they're going into film so much because you just talked about 2 films that are very much appearing in the Oscars. Like, these are massive films for the year. To think that Apple is the ones that are releasing a lot of them or like funding a lot of them is certainly interesting. I find the Apple Vision Pro is hilarious.
Well,
I was going to say, who's... I don't know if I'd bother watching a film on an Apple Vision Pro. Like, I feel like it just takes away from the cinematography of it.
I felt like that was their sort of one of their main marketing points, though, is that you can chuck it on.
Yeah.
Sit in a land speeder while watching Star Wars.
Yeah, like in the trailer, it's like you're in a plane and it just immerses you. I think that's cool.
I personally, I love the concept. I don't love the fact that that's going to become a thing because we really enjoy going to the movies together.
Yeah.
Right? We really enjoy sitting, even coming to my house, having a pizza and watching Interstellar for the 25th time. We do that. We enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if we're all sitting there, we'd all just be sitting there with our Apple headsets on. I mean, there's something kind of sad about that, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's for an individual to use.
It's going to be terrific when you're on a plane or something like that. But I just can't imagine it's going to replace the experience of
a cinema.
Sitting in your lounge. Like, I just would hate. Like, I watched a film with my mum last night. We started watching Poor Things, and I'd seen Poor Things, but we started watching it again, and there's something really fun about seeing her reactions and hearing her thoughts while watching it. And I feel like if everyone sits there with a headset on, it's going to take away from that social experience.
Yeah, but the Apple Vision Pro is tailored towards being alone. Not saying you, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Like, if you're just, instead of like playing a video game or sitting and watching TV on your own on a TV, you can do it with a goggle headset on your head.
Yeah.
And then you're more immersed in it.
And the thing that I think is going to appeal a lot of people is the 3D. Even IMAX has an app on the Apple Vision Pro now. You can watch their documentaries in IMAX. Or a simulated IMAX experience. So it's really becoming a greater norm, and I think the main aspects of the Vision Pro that people are really enjoying is that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Toby, I think you're excited about this one.
Yeah, I'll talk about this one. So the director for Everything Everywhere All at Once, the directors, the Daniels, scheduled their next film release for 2026 by Universal Studios. They said June 12th is when it's expected by, but no information's been released on the film. But yes, I'm exceptionally excited for that.
Of course. No, the Daniels have done some terrific work. And yeah, excited. Have you managed to see Everything Everywhere?
Yeah, I have, yeah. It was
really
good.
What did you think?
It's quirky in a good way, I think. Like, it's definitely a different sort of style, I feel, but I really liked it.
That's great, yeah. I'm really happy they're doing more work, and especially after the insane Oscar run. I mean, I'm sure Universal's really excited to get this one out there. I'm not sure, again, what it's about, but I mean, just as Toby said, he's super excited, and all he's got is the name and the date, and we're already excited. So that's the power of making really great films.
Yeah, no, that one's definitely exciting. One of the other ones that's sort of small news but still interesting, James Gunn, well known for Guardians of the Galaxy. He's previously titled Superman Legacy is now been renamed to just Superman. And this comes when filming is now beginning for the DCEU that James Gunn has taken over. Is there any notable things anyone wants to say about
I just think that they're very much making public that it's beginning filming, and the cast has been very much in the spotlight a bit. I'd say less so the actor who's playing Superman, but they are doing a lot of like first day of shooting pictures and around social media, so they're definitely trying to build hype around it. I think it's part of they're trying to build some really positive press for the new DC universe. So I think this is kind of part of that, where they're still making headlines, even with little changes. The Superman logo reveal, Zack Snyder commented on it. Like, they're really trying to build a lot of excitement for seeing a new version of Superman brought to the big screen, and of course the DCEU as a whole going into.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it should be.
I like Superman. Yeah.
So you're excited, even though it's no Henry Cavill. The whole DCEU as we've seen is kind of coming to an end, and we're going in a new direction. Does that excite you?
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, it depends obviously how well it goes, but I'm keen for something new. Not that say the character's new, but a new storyline and to build a new world at least.
Yeah,
starting from scratch, because I mean we know how well the DC universe sort of went. I mean, and I'm a fan of. I loved Henry Cavill as Superman. I love those, like Man of Steel. I don't know how you guys feel about Man of Steel, but I was a big fan of that movie.
Yeah, it's one of the best.
Yeah, and then I just think Superman's a cool character. They do it a lot, but yeah. Anyway, some more news is a new trailer for The Bike Riders was released on March the 1st, a couple of days ago now. The film stars Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy, following a Midwestern motorcycle club. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
It's being written and directed by Jeff Nichols, who previously did films like Midnight Special and Mud.
I think that's really cool. It's quite a funny story, but Austin Butler was initially going to shave his head for Dune Part 2, but it's the director of The Bike Riders who went, we can't CGI your hair on, mate, so they can get your bowl cap.
All right.
We need to keep your hair for this film. So, he had to use the bowl cap and all that for Dune Part 2, but yeah, so he's going to star in The Bike Riders, and I'm excited for this one. I think it's something different. We've seen films and stuff about gangs and things like that, but I think you've got 3 really big names in this.
Yeah.
Jeff Nichols, who's done some really gritty stuff in the past, and I'm kind of excited about this one. I think this will be a good one in the movie theaters. It'll be good fun.
Yeah, no, certainly. I think we haven't seen Tom Hardy since Venom was his last film that he was.
I guess.
Yeah,
and that wasn't the best performance by him. Not even by him. I think that was just the script that was a bit shortened to
second.
I think he did well with what they were trying to achieve. I mean, we can criticize the way they decided to take Venom, but I think the comedic buddy comedy part with Tom Hardy worked.
That was probably misspoke. Then I wasn't trying to belittle Tom Hardy's performance or anything. I just think the film didn't get all that well received for what it was.
Yeah,
so to see him come back into the cinemas
for Venom 2 or
for number 2.
Less so. I appreciate Venom 2 for being I've seen it on Netflix and I enjoyed it. If I'd gone to the cinema to see it in 90-minute kind of very simple thing, I don't think I would have liked it as much, but because I was watching it at home, I kind of had a blast.
I think I saw it in cinema. It wasn't too bad.
It's just popcorn flicks. Yeah,
it's just you get on, you have a laugh, you watch a bit of action. It is quite action intense throughout the whole movie.
It is, especially second. Yeah. Carnage was really good fun actually. But yeah, that'll release. Is expected in theaters on June 21st. So that's kind of exciting. We have also had an announcement that there will be a sequel to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which was an animated film that came out last year, and I believe Seth Rogen produced.
Yeah, I think it was Seth Rogen produced, and then it had this is the one notable thing that I know about the film: the voice actor for Gumball, the TV show from.
Oh, really?
He was one of the Ninja Turtles.
That's cool. I really want to check this one out. I heard the animation style was stunning.
The animation's really good, and apparently, it's actually pretty funny. I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I've been really wanting to because a lot of people were saying it should have been nominated for Best Animated. But it didn't. But I think it's targeting a different demographic than what the Oscars would probably.
It definitely had a cool art style, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
But I think that's really, really cool to know. It's expected to release in 2026, of course. And it's been teased that Shredder might make an appearance in it.
Shredder.
Yeah. So fans of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles who enjoyed the first will probably be really excited for that one.
I just have one question for both of you. Have you seen it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that. It's probably early 2000s,
the Michael Bay ones with Megan Fox.
No, not those ones. It's it was an animated.
It's not early 2000s.
Oh,
that's
that's true. They were
Those were. I don't mind those movies though. No, but I'm trying to think.
You're a Michael Bay fan.
Was it live action?
No, I don't think it's live.
Because there's the ones from the 90s, and it's
there's the show
though,
isn't it? There's the TV show, but I swear there was this animated movie. I'm thinking 2008.
Was it called TMNT? Is that the one I'm imagining? Yeah, because I like the design of that one.
I love that movie.
That was the one I got introduced to. Yeah, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was that one. I really like that one.
It feels like that movie is either I made it all up in my head or it doesn't.
No, it does exist. It does exist.
Series, though? I remember the one from the series where it was
it's definitely not a series.
It could be a series.
I could sing the song.
It's definitely
not
a series.
If you want me to sing this.
Come on, sing it.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, yeah.
How many people just unclicked from the podcast?
I think it's this one.
Copyright claim for that one.
Yeah.
That was too good.
2000. Yeah. It's called TMNT.
2007.
Yes.
I love the design of those.
Yeah.
I think they look really cool.
That was a good movie.
Were they movies? I thought that was.
This was a 2007 movie.
Okay.
Yeah. I do remember. That's the first thing I ever saw of them. I couldn't remember if it was.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I really liked that. I loved Teenage Mutant.
continuing on with animated features, we have the Megamind sequel. And look, we don't necessarily take into account Rotten Tomatoes and all that on our opinions, but in this case, I think it's pretty much a representation of how people feel about this. But the Megamind sequel debuted to 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, unfortunately. It is the lowest rated DreamWorks movie ever. It was a straight-to-streaming film that premiered on Peacock in the US. Look, I just think they had a smaller budget. They didn't have the same cast or crew coming back. I don't know why you do a sequel.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Such an odd choice, man.
I was going to say.
They don't get any of the actors back. Worse than the animation style, straight to streaming. Like, I don't want to, belittle the people who made this, but it was a weird choice to have made, especially when Megamind is such a beloved cult classic animated movie. I feel like it's very hard to do a sequel to the same impact. Like you saw that with The Incredibles. Yeah. The Incredibles 1's loved film, and then The Incredibles 2, there was this trepidation going into it because it was 15 odd years later. But they put the time in, and Incredibles 2 is a brilliant film. I love that film.
Yeah.
But here, straight to streaming and reduce the budget, and you don't get the actors back. I think that's a big part of it. Will Ferrell's performance in the first one was hilarious.
And I think at the time it was really innovative and sort of imaginary. It was something that you never seen before, and now we have a lot. I mean, animated features have blown up. People, Spider-Verse, even things like Elementals and stuff. People were really excited about it, and I think they thought Megamind 2. People are gonna get on our streaming service. They're gonna want to see it, but. The thing is that there is no lack of animated films in Hollywood anymore, and I just think you need something that makes you stand out. And if you don't have the budget or the people that you had in the first one for a sequel, it's just not going to hit with audiences.
I was just going to ask. This is probably not a question I can ask, but does anyone know what the plot is? Is that spoiler?
I don't. I won't lie. I because we don't have Peacock over here, I don't entirely know how we can watch it, so I haven't checked it out.
Interesting. No, I just can't imagine what route they took.
No, you make an interesting point. It was kind of a film that didn't need a sequel.
Yeah, it ends and it's happy ending, and then where do you go?
You are right. I should probably look into it more, and we'll talk about it if any of that changes. I know the director's recently come out and sort of defended it by saying, look, that with the resources and the time they had, it was the best they could do. And look, I get that. Yeah. They did not have the resources and the time they did on the first one. But unfortunately, 0% is a really poor result, and I feel for the team behind it. But
yeah. And going from a very disappointing release to one that's been very popular, the TV show Shogun has become FX's most viewed premiere on Hulu with 9 million views, surpassing even The Bear.
Wow, I know that there was a lot of hype around this TV show. I did not expect it to do this, though.
No, it is blown up. I'm getting advertisements for it everywhere.
Yeah, I was almost started watching it the other night, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, I was going to watch it, and I saw the Guy Ritchie, The Gentleman, and I was like, I have to watch that first. But I am so excited to check out Shogun. I believe the first 2 episodes are still out on Disney Plus here, so people go check it out. Apparently, it's incredible. From the production design to the story, I've heard it's really, really good.
Yeah, it does look good.
I'm just so surprised it beat out The Bear.
Bear. I guess, but the Bear was kind of a slow burner start from what I knew. I only started watching it when season 2 came out. It wasn't. I don't know if it wasn't on Disney before then. It might have been. I can't say for certainty. But yeah, I only really started watching it when season 2 was being advertised a lot, and then a lot of people were like, "Wow, this show's brilliant! Everyone go watch that." And I was like, "Oh, I'll check it out." And then I was like, "Oh, this show is brilliant! I should have started watching it season 1." But yeah, I can see why that would happen. Not to say The Bear's not as incredible as Shogun possibly will be, but it doesn't surprise me that Shogun's beat it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, continuing on with TV shows, this is great news for me because I know I've been waiting for this announcement, but Lucasfilm and Marvel Disney Plus series, including Andor, Moon Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, are coming to physical. They are releasing on 4K and Blu-ray on April 30th. So any of you who are interested in collecting those or have a real affinity to one or all of them, you will be able to collect them. I'm definitely going to get Andor. That's the only one.
I was going to say, which ones are you going to get?
Andor. Andor's one of my favorite Star Wars things to come out. I love Andor.
Yeah.
Moon Knight, I'd be tempted to, but I know because Disney don't release their physical media here, it's going to be incredibly expensive. So I need to kind of, if I end up, it'll be one of the things I won't buy at day one. Whereas Andor, I might.
get
You know what I
that,
mean?
Yeah.
Because I've been really excited to revisit that one,
Shipping costs, though.
especially.
Just buy them all together, then you have to pay for shipping one time.
They're just really expensive.
Collect.
I'm not that interested in Falcon and Winter Soldier or Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Andor and Moon Knight would be the two that I'd be interested in because I thought they were both really good, but Andor especially really stood out to me.
Sure.
And on our final piece of news, we have this month filming begins for the neo-noir thriller Lips Like Sugar. It will star Woody Harrelson, Owen Wilson, Juliette Lewis, Sasha Calle, Catherine Newton, and of course Erin Moriarty from The Boys.
Yeah.
And apparently it's set against the 1984 Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one to know.
I saw that one. I'm actually really interested in this. I love Owen Wilson. He's in so many films that I just love.
Ka-chow.
Ka-chow.
Do that again, Tiga.
Wow.
We're adding that into every news part now. Just if it's a good piece of news, just wow.
But yeah, no, I'm excited for it. And here's some of the things coming to streaming and theaters for anyone who is interested. So there's Poor Things coming to Disney Plus on March 7th, or it's already out.
It's already out now, yep.
Adam Sandler's new Netflix film Spaceman is also available, but on Netflix. The Gentleman series that Frosty mentioned earlier is now available. What one's that on Netflix?
That's on Netflix, and go watch it especially if you enjoyed the Gentleman film. I didn't give sort of a lot of thoughts on it, but from the first 2 episodes I've seen, it's very much in the same vein, very much the same tone. Really enjoyable watch. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed. I had a great time. It was a blast.
Yeah. Zac Efron and John Cena star in the new film called Ricky Steticki. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Stenicki, I think.
Close enough. Which releases on March 7th. Oh, it's already out. It's out on Amazon Prime.
It is.
It's a comedy, and it was actually, part of it was filmed in Melbourne.
All of it. I believe all of it was filmed in Melbourne, and I know a few people who had some photos with Zac Efron. And stuff like that.
Yeah,
he kind of made a few public appearances here.
They couldn't see John Cena, obviously. He's too
Never
quick.
gets old.
And here's another one you might not see. Dune Part 2 is out, including
Is it?
IMAX. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard about that one yet.
We got to go.
We should.
Twice.
Twice.
And, we've been sure to note that it's also available in 70mm film if you want to watch it in such form.
Yeah, definitely. and I recommend it. I've seen it in 4K laser and 70mm.
Yeah.
Both are incredible experiences. Watch it in either one. Just try and head out to an IMAX theater to see this one. If you just want to see it in the traditional theater way, do that. Support this film. It's fantastic.
Another one you should go out and see is Kung Fu Panda 4 is out. Actually, I don't know why I'm telling people. I haven't seen it yet. It could be terrible.
It's actually today.
It's out today. So if you want to go see
I love the optimism, though.
the new Kung Fu Panda film, it is currently available to watch in cinemas. Go check it out in IMAX. I don't think it's in IMAX.
I don't think it's not in IMAX. We would go to IMAX, though.
And then A24's new film, Love Lies Bleeding, starring Kristen Stewart, will release in theatres on the 14th of March. It currently has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
so
I've heard a lot of good things.
well received.
We will give you our thoughts on this one. I think this is one we're going to go check out and see.
We love some A24.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things, and I'm very interested in this one. So we're definitely going to go check this one out and give you our thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Sure. And finally, tickets for Godzilla vs. Kong coming out in IMAX and regular theatres are available to purchase now for a March 28th release. So,
Ooh.
interesting.
King
Godzilla vs.
We are going to go
Kong,
see
man.
this one, guys.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to check out this one in IMAX as well.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, we got to see what he does with it. You know, does he snap?
I am Kong.
Yeah,
I reckon-
if honestly,
my money is
that
on
is a
Snap.
straight 10 out of 10 if he goes, I am Kong and snaps.
Snaps.
Yeah.
I honestly,
Everyone just
10 out of
fades.
10.
Beats
Yeah.
out Dune in the Oscars for sure.
Just cut to black. I just want that cut to
That
black.
would be cool.
That's all I want.
I would say that.
No, it's very good.
Thank you for listening to the news segment. We were just going to have a quick break and we will come back to talk about Dune Part 2. We have a lot of thoughts on it. We're excited to bring you our reactions and thoughts on the film. Stay tuned for more. Thank you. Welcome back to the second half of our show where we discuss Dune Part 2. We will give you our non-spoiler thoughts, our general opinions of the film, and then we'll go into the spoiler section with a big warning before that because we know it's a new film. Let's start with our special guest, Thomas Kokkinos.
Yes.
So you saw it with me twice. We saw it twice in IMAX,
Yep.
IMAX 4K laser, and 1570mm film. What are your general thoughts on the film? Should people go out and see this one?
Definitely, yes. I think definitely. I think just from an entertainment and cinematography standpoint, it's worth seeing. Even if you haven't seen, I feel like even if you haven't seen the first one, you could still watch this
They
one.
do say that it holds up by
I feel
itself.
like you don't need, like, obviously for the sake of context maybe, but...
You're going to be lost without the first one.
I don't-
I've heard, was
think-
it Denis Villeneuve that said that
Yeah.
you can watch it? Look, you can. Obviously,
you can and
you're
enjoy it.
physically capable of doing
Okay.
that. You're going to be lost.
I would say,
Yeah.
because I probably had spent it was probably a long time between the first and the second that I'd watched the first.
Yeah,
and
you did.
I walked out of the second and I was like, I had to draw some dots afterwards, but still, like, it all makes sense, the plot of the second without the first. Like, it's all there. And I think, I mean, in terms of cinematography, it's just stunning visually, especially in IMAX. Entertaining. All the acting is incredible as well, I think.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't really a bad sort of job, I think.
Yeah. I will jump in and say I absolutely agree. I genuinely said something to TK that I'm not going to repeat because I'm not sure if it's true. But I'll put it to you this way. I'll put it to you this way. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it is what science fiction filmmaking should be.
Yeah.
It is a combination of every member of the crew and the cast giving their all and producing something that is special, that will be talked about for many years, and may go down as one of the best science fiction franchises of all time. It is genuinely incredible.
Yeah.
We are seeing outstanding reviews across the board. And now, obviously, like any film, there's the criticisms, and I have them as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's the best film ever made of all time. What I'm saying is...
Aren't you?
Well, it's a subjective.
what I'm saying is it hit every note I wanted it to.
Yeah.
The first Dune film was one of my favorite films of that year. Mm-hmm. Still one of my favorite films, to be honest. Yeah. The first Dune I love. And it's what I want to go into a film to see. It's what I think an experience in IMAX with my friends is. It was the perfect film for that.
It's definitely fit for
these
IMAX.
are the films that made me want to be a filmmaker. And Denis has inspired me not only through his other films, but this one especially, because I realized that he has made something that is so grand, so big, and he's made like this human story within it, this cautionary tale of messianic figures and the idea of a messiah and the influence of different groups with different ideas and opinions, and he's brought that to the big screen in an interesting way where every character feels fleshed out.
Yeah.
Every character feels like they belong in this universe. And I would just say everyone should go out and see this film, especially in IMAX. Greg Fraser did an outstanding job. Every cast member, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Florence Pugh, everyone, like, honestly. Especially Javier Bardem was actually really funny in the film, and he delivered some outstanding lines, was appropriately funny in the universe, because don't get me wrong, it's not comedy, but he adds this comedic element that absolutely works. I totally love this film. Toby?
The film was snubbed for me for two reasons. First and foremost, there was a fly that was relentless.
There was a fly.
This damn fly was on top of the glass that they project through. Oh my God.
This was for the 70mm showing.
The entire showing was just a fly.
Unfortunately, Greg Fraser, your cinematography was incredible, but there was a fly that blocked it, that ruined a few scenes. Again, it's gorgeous, but just imagine there's like this fly floating around the screen.
Part of the world.
Yeah.
Part of the world.
It was set building. It was world building.
Yeah. The second thing was some of the claims that have been said to me before I went and watched this. So, TK, Thomas, and Will went and saw this one before me.
We did.
Not to any like disrespect to them. They invited me. I said no. I went with them the second time. But I got a call. Was it the Thursday you went and saw it?
Yeah.
Get a call from someone. I won't say which two of it was. It was obviously Will. And he had a couple of things to say to me. First of all, he complained about the parking, which was very reasonable. He got shafted.
Yeah. That's the most expensive parking I've ever done in my entire life. Yeah.
And
TK got the brunt.
The second one was some of the claims he's already made. But I've written down a list here of things that I want to say that he said to us. This is either before I watched it or...
Are these direct quotes?
I don't know if these are direct quotes, and you can refute them as you please.
Yeah, I'll probably defend them.
But these are some of the ones that he said to me. He said that the romance between Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet was some of the best romance that he's seen.
That's not what I said. I said the love theme, the music that played for the moments where they're together. The theme that Hans Zimmer created was one of the best love themes ever made.
I think I'll back him on that one.
Okay,
I think he
that's
did
what I
say
said.
he was talking about
that's
the
reasonable,
music.
that's
I was talking about the music.
He has said already in this podcast, but I'll say it again. He said it might go down as the best sci-fi of all time.
Yeah.
You stand by that one?
That if they can deliver with the third, yes.
Okay.
Can I just say one thing about that?
Yeah.
I'm just interested, like, can you compare, like, sci-fi movies from this generation to sci-fi movies from 40 years ago, do you reckon?
Also,
that's a really good question, because what I'm saying, when I say that, I mean, when I want to go watch something that's science fiction, Dune's the one I want to go to now. There's something about the world building, and it is a lot, it comes down to how much money they had to make it. Don't get me wrong, the people who made it were incredibly talented, top of the game. But it also comes down to we do have the technology to make something like that now. So what I'm saying is, it's hard to go back to like the 1974 Dune and say like, where he's on a green screen holding the worm. It's hard to compare them. Don't get me wrong, I agree.
I know what you mean.
But what I'm saying is there is something about the lore and the world building and just the atmosphere that this world creates in a sci-fi sphere that feels both grounded and magical. And there's just, whenever I'm in it, I'm in it. I never want to check my phone. I never want to do anything. I'm fully invested in this world. And there are, don't get me wrong, there are other ones like Blade Runner and Star Wars that make me feel the same way. But I feel for me, Dune is, because I'm also very interested in the filmmaking aspects. I love watching films to see that. And it's masterful what Denis Villeneuve does with it. So, there's that. Sorry to cut you off.
Got some more claims here.
Oh, gosh.
This is one that I think you've said kind of, but not entirely. You said the trilogy will go down as the greatest cinematic feat of the century. Or the decade.
I do remember saying something about...
I did say that. I did say that.
Do you stand by that one?
Well,
if the third delivers, yes.
Okay.
But again, it's prejudgment because I both think the first one is the perfect world building. It's the perfect setup. Part 2 is a perfect journey for all the characters. If the third one can wrap it up in a really great way, I think it could.
Okay.
But again, this is all but this is opinion based. This is to me where if someone says to me what's going to be the greatest trilogy, if Dune Messiah is as good as Dune Part 2, then it could for me it can be. Yes.
No, I could see that.
But I also can't shy away from the fact you do have things like The Godfather, Back to the Future, Star Wars, some of these incredible trilogies.
Star Wars,
that are also amazing, but I think for me, when I grow up and say to my kids say to me, whatever, like what's a great science fiction trilogy or whatever, what did you grow up with? I want to say Dune.
I guess it is. We're growing up with it. That's the thing.
Yeah, it came at a point in my life where I'm studying film and I love science fiction films, and it hits all those marks. That's probably why I'm saying these things.
Yeah, and that's definitely valid.
Yeah,
valid reason.
No, fair enough. I've got 2 more for you.
I know the ones you're about to say too.
So one of them was that it is an entirely perfect film.
Oh, did you say that? I think
I did say that. Okay, do you want the honest answer?
Yes.
I felt that after the first viewing.
Okay.
Second time, I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's close.
Okay. Right,
but it is not. The first time I came out, I literally just sat there and, TK would know, and I was kind of just like, wow.
Okay, I'm going to get to that because this is the final claim, and this is what
I know that this
drew me in and gave me very high expectations for the film before I'd seen it. I get a call from him, and he says, and he to be fair, he refuted it pretty much immediately, but he said that it was the best film he's ever seen.
Yeah, I do.
I know I said that. I said that, and I think I'd put the word one in front of it.
It was part of he was in the moment.
I was in the moment.
Tears
it was
running down his eyes.
A beautiful experience there. Like
recency bias.
Seeing it in IMAX. and we're forgetting, we were one of the first showings. We saw opening day. Fan showing, opening day. IMAX 4K.
Yeah.
You and I just got my Dune tote bag
Yeah.
to make everyone realize how nerdy I am. Bought by my wonderful friend Thomas over here. I honestly felt that at the time. I came out of it and went, I wouldn't change a thing. I loved it. And I genuinely, for all 2 hours 47 minutes of this film, loved every second of it. But I get home and I sort of look at some of my film collections and some of the other things I rated 10 out of 10. And I go, there are other films I felt the same way in their runtime. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I definitely say definitely one of.
Mm-hmm.
But is it the best film I've ever seen? Maybe not. But it is definitely one of them.
Okay. All right.
In my opinion.
No, that's
but remember, what I want to go into a film to see is very different to what everyone else does.
Yeah.
And so I want to go in and see, don't get me wrong, an intriguing story, wonderful storytelling and filmmaking aspects. But I love the visuals. I love feeling like I'm in another world.
Not giant robots fighting each other.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
But yeah, I just think Dune's incredible. So yeah, I may have, gotten caught up in the moment, but I definitely defend some of those things.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that was just the quotes that I written down. I'm sure there was more that I can't remember.
But rather than continuing to talk about my thoughts, Toby.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, as I said, it was snubbed from me. I think it's a brilliant film, but I've had to go into it with like such a critical mindset of like, oh, it's gonna be perfect, and then there's, I'm gonna say, obvious flaws to it.
But you and I disagree on perfect films often. Like, you think Everything Everywhere All at Once is a perfect film. I don't.
Yeah, but that's
right?
just a bad take from me.
But what I'm saying is, surely me saying that, like, I go into a film looking at different things.
Yes, yeah, you do. No. I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. What I can say this in the spoiler-free section: cinematography, flawless.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna say the direction, like as flawless as direction can be with a script. My issues are with some of the acting and some of the writing. And when I say there's issues, I'm saying like 98% of it was fantastic. Like,
yeah, these are nitpicks. These are critical nitpicks.
This is me being nitpicky, and then probably some biasy towards my man Elvis. No disrespect to him.
I think Austin Butler's great. I don't understand your opinion of him. I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of my favorite.
I'm just admitting my bias here. The only thing is, this is what I was saying in the spoilers-free section. I just heard Elvis every time he talked. I haven't even seen the Elvis movie.
Really?
I thought his accent was great in it because he sounds a lot like Stellan Skarsgård.
I just heard Elvis.
I feel like you can hear a tiny bit.
Yeah, but that's his. I think everyone, the whole narrative about him milking the Elvis voice and stuff, I think it's unfounded. I think we don't understand. This is him.
Yeah,
this is his voice. And
him.
Given,
Agreed.
That everyone puts the idea of Elvis's voice on him, whatever, everyone can have an opinion.
Yeah,
but in this film, it works with the character. No, his accent's perfect.
I'm admitting that I fully said when we were walking out, like, I heard Elvis, but that could have just been me. That could have just been
sure,
me.
No, of course.
Stuck in the back of your mind.
It was in the back of your mind.
Subconscious.
And my only criticism of his character isn't just his accent. Like,
because I think he's one of the standout performances in it.
Really?
I think he is. I think when Fade Ruther comes out on screen, I was like, wow, this is brilliant, especially compared to the David Lynch version, which was Sting, I believe, played Fade Ruther.
Yeah, it was Sting.
I thought he was terrific when he came out into that arena. And again, we won't go into spoilers about what happens or anything.
Well,
that'll be for later on. It's in the trailer. But it's a terrific sequence. I mean, that sequence is astonishing.
I think he's a very good physical actor.
Yes.
Physically.
It's a very physical role.
Yeah.
It's a very physical role. And I think with what he's given, he does an incredible job with it. I mean, he's a standout character in my mind. And he's not the lead or sort of anything close to that. So
I disagree with that. I don't think his performance was that fantastic. I'm not
really
taking away from him. And it could have been the script delivered to him. But and I don't want to get too much into the spoilers. Everyone who's seen the trailer and seeing what he looks like, I didn't find that an intimidating look whatsoever.
Really?
No.
Okay, interesting. I think I would disagree.
Who was his cousin or brother? What was his name? Sorry.
Do you mean Dave Bautista?
Yeah, Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista is a physically massive man. So
yeah.
in the exact same look, I'm just intimidated by him because he's huge. I
think he looks. I don't know.
I thought Austin Butler.
You can absolutely have that.
He looked more goofy than intimidating. At no point was I like, whoa, what a scary bad guy. I was just kind of like, doesn't have eyebrows.
Okay.
He's bald.
He's bald. He doesn't have eyebrows.
I would. The only thing I would say that I'm close to you on agreeing with Sorry, that's not great grammar, but you know what I'm saying. I think I would say they don't explain his capabilities as well as they could, given what happens in certain sequences where he's fighting. I'll put it that way. But I think for what the story needed and how much he was in it, I thought they did a really good job. Physically, I really liked the look of the character. I thought it was great. But I agree that, he's probably not as menacing as intended.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it worked for me. It was what I wanted, and I believed him as a worthy adversary to Timothy Chalamet.
Point conceded to Toby. I'll talk more about him in the spoiler section because I've got to talk about some of the character motivations and arcs and stuff like that. But yeah, when you're raving about all the acting, I think that Timothy Chalamet was brilliant. Who played his mother? I'm so sorry, I'm bad with actors' names.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Fantastic. Her performance.
Oh, she's brilliant in this film. Yeah, she's fantastic.
So yeah, I think there's definitely standout acting performances, but I think for
Zendaya as well, really good.
Yeah, she was good. I think that might have been a matter of the script where she couldn't perform to like the extent that she was fantastic, just because her character didn't have that much to do realistically, did she?
Yeah, I just again, without going into spoilers, I think with what she had to do, being sort of someone who disagrees with a lot of people, I bought her inner turmoil with with being able to see that maybe the path that characters are going on is not the right one. Sure. And I bought her turmoil in how to approach that. And I feel like, especially in the sort of third act of the film, she had a lot of powerful moments, a lot of strength, while also showing, again, in other scenes, a lot of vulnerability. And I just bought all the scenes she was in. I really did buy the story between her and Timothy Chalamet as well.
Yeah, sure. I think we'll go into the spoiler section soon.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate, I'm not like dishing on this film because I hated it. I think it's like a fantastic film. The reason that I'm going into this so critically is because we've got the person sitting across from me who's going to rave about it. So I felt like I needed to go into it with like a bit more of a critical perspective. Not to say that Frosty won't say anything bad about it. But yeah, that's when I'm saying like these are some of my issues with it. Go see the film. It's brilliant. Like, It's a fantastic film. But yeah, I'll give more of my opinions with the spoiler section, try and explain my position a little bit more. Because right now I feel like I'm just hating on Austin Butler, and I don't
No.
Austin
So for those who haven't seen it and just want to sort of have a recap and want to know our rating of it, why don't you give us sort of a conclusion and your rating and how many claps you'd give the film?
It's a brilliant film. I am on the controversial opinion where I think it's either not as good or like equal in proportion to the first one, first movie. But currently I'm giving it 8 claps.
8 claps?
Yep.
Yep. Totally. And just in terms of how people can watch it, would you say IMAX was worth it for this one?
If you have the means to go watch IMAX, for sure. I wouldn't wait for it to come out in streaming.
No,
you won't
definitely
watch
not.
It to the same extent that you could be. Like, it's a long film, and people are already going to be complaining about how long it is. And I think when you're at home and you've got the means to distract yourself, you're not going to pay attention to it. So I would recommend definitely watching it while it's in cinemas. Also, go watch cinemas. Like, it's fantastic to go to the cinemas.
Especially, this is a film you want to see on a big screen. And it's a film that, it's so you can bring sort of younger people to go see it as well, so families can go.
Toddlers.
TK, do you want to give us sort of a roundup of your thoughts and
what? Do I get
how many claps you
half
give?
or quarter claps?
No. You have to clap fully.
No. Out of 10,
full
claps.
All right. I'd probably have to say 9. 9 claps.
9 claps. Yep. Anything that stands out besides what you've said? Anything else you want to say? I think we haven't spoken about the score very much, and I think it's a terrific score.
I don't know. I think the thing that stands out for me mainly in this movie, I'm a big sucker for cinematography, so probably that. That is just, even if I'm not paying attention to what's going on, I'm just lost in like the visuals of it. So that always carries movies over the line for me. So.
Yeah.
No, you bring up a good point though, Frosty. The score was fantastic. That was Hans Zimmer. He did a fantastic job, as he always does when it's Hans Zimmer not done a good job.
Yeah, it's terrific. I mean, we even tried to recreate some of it just before. I hope you'll.
That was Hans Zimmer. He came.
No, that was
the
female who sings it.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed that, by the way.
Free of charge.
Yeah.
And then we'll get copyright restricted for that,
Yeah.
So accurate.
It's too good.
So yes, 9 claps. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Ooh, actually, yeah. 9 claps.
What's your take then, Mr. Will?
I'm very happy and proud. 10 claps.
Whoa. That's 2 10 claps in the last 2 weeks.
For both Dune films. Yeah, look, I people can question it all you want. I do have little criticisms of it. Again, without going to I thought the Emperor wasn't as strong as I kind of expected. I obviously think Christopher Walken's a tremendous actor, but I didn't think the portrayal of the Emperor stood out very much to me. yeah, Palpatine. No,
Don't.
do it.
Do it.
Yeah, not that Emperor, the other Emperor. The one in this film. Yeah, so
Thanks.
just in case they didn't know. Just in case they didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't want the
lightsabers.
I didn't want the listeners to be lost, all right? But yeah, I honestly, I really enjoyed this film. I think it's a terrific watch. I'm going to be watching it many, many more times. I think it works really well with the first one. I think that's something that's of note, is that it takes place very much just after the first. Like, it's very, they are one of two. Like, they work individually, but they are definitely supposed to be together.
Like me and TK.
Especially if you're a big fan of sand, a big sand fan.
You're a big sand fan. I also think if you're spicy,
I hate sand.
it's rough.
It's rough. It's coarse. It gets
It's everywhere.
Wrong movie.
Which Timothée Chalamet doesn't agree with. In a recent interview, he answered that question.
You like sand?
He likes them.
I hate it.
Do you think it's rough?
It's annoying.
It does get everywhere.
It
get
is
everywhere.
rough.
Yeah.
And coarse.
I have to
And
admit,
it gets
I do
everywhere.
hate sand when, when you're laying on a beach towel and, someone's accidentally kicked some sand on it and you're
We're
wet.
so lost.
We are so, yeah.
What are we doing?
Hey,
I just
it's
wanna
sand
mention-
related.
well, I
There
just-
is
yeah.
sand in this
I just
movie.
wanted to mention, if you're a fan of sand, there's a lot of sand
You'll
in the
love the
movie.
film.
There is
Yeah.
a lot
You
there is a
read
lot of
the-
moving sand. Yeah.
You read up some statistics
It
before.
was like on Earth. There's wait, there's, I think there's something like, was it 6 sextillion? Yeah, that's the one. Grains of sand. So
Yeah.
There's so much sand in the world, and this film really shows
revolves around
Can
sand.
we just go to the spoiler section?
Okay.
All right, so yeah, 10 claps for me.
10, 9, 8. That's
We are putting up the spoiler warning now. If you have not seen Dune Part 2, we recommend that you either
Leave.
keep going if you want it for it's spoiled, but go and watch the film and then come back to the podcast later on.
spoiler this.
Or
Thank
stay
you
if you dare.
if you are leaving us. Thank you very much for listening to this week's episode. We will also be talking about the Oscars this week as well, in the lead up to the Oscars on Monday or Sunday for the US listeners. And as well, we will be talking about Denis Villeneuve's film next week, all his films, and we're kind of giving our thoughts and our rankings on those. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for the spoiler section coming next. Thank you. Welcome to the spoiler section. We'll be talking about Dune Part 2 and our thoughts on the film. We will be going into spoilers. Toby, what do you have to say?
Oh, I'm starting. Okay.
Yeah, go for it. You had a lot to say in this
All
non-spoilers.
right, let me go through a couple of things. I think one of my issues was the arcs of some of the characters.
Really?
And the pacing that occurred as a result.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Who?
Paul, the main character Paul. I
Really?
think his character arc was bizarre. As in, I felt the first two acts of the film, everything was fine. Everything was really good. He had this strong moral compass, and he wasn't going to forego it.
Oh, yeah, I
And then
disagree.
There was one scene, and everything changed.
Flips, yeah.
So
There was a lot of turmoil.
Let me speak. You've had your time. No, so there was the one scene that I'm talking about. Yeah, put your hand up when you want to speak. There's one scene, and that is when the northern tribe, is that what we're calling them? Northern Fremen group, they're attacked by Elvis Presley.
Fade Rather.
And then they have to choose to move south. And he's in the position where he doesn't want to go south because he's had these visions of if he goes south, there's going to be this terrible holy war and there's going to be mass death and stuff like that. And he's held that position the entire film. Like his mum went very early on and she was like, I'm going south, come with. And he's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And then he walks off. He has a vision of someone that he killed in the previous film. And then he comes back. He's like, all right, let's go south.
Yeah, no, but he goes south to drink the water.
Yeah, but he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that. That's what I'm saying.
No,
that point,
I know, but he had to.
Hand up, fool. No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying the first 2 acts, he's so opposed to it. As in, like, it gets to this very point, this scene I'm talking about, the start of it, he's like, I'm staying back and I'm going to fight. Like, I'm willing to have my final stance here.
Yeah.
And I'll die here. And then everyone's like, no, don't do that. Like, there's no point in you dying. And then, no, wait. And then he walks off, has a vision, and he comes back. He's like, all right, let's go south. Can you, with your hand up there, you tell me what you think makes that make sense.
So it was the impending threat of Fade Routher coming to destroy the people in the south. So he heard that it was being taken over by the other brother and that the Harkonnens were directly attacking the south where it had his mother and the other fundamentalists, and he felt an obligation to protect them as the Fremen, which is why they really wanted him to go south, to rally the troops, to try and combat the Harkonnens, which now Fade Routher was coming to him. So he felt his obligation as a Fremen to go to the south. And then they said that to see the future, he has to drink the water of life. And he does so. And when he drinks that, he's able to see the different versions of the future that there may be. And he realizes they all lead to the same thing. So then he decides to become the Messiah, to lean into this idea of the Lisan al-Gaib. So he drinks the water of life, but he goes there because he feels an obligation to, because Fade Routher is starting to attack the south because they realize that it is not uninhabitable that they once thought it was.
I think it's also got a little bit to do with his sort of dad and his family.
Absolutely.
Because obviously, what's his character? I don't know the character's name, but
Paul.
No, his trainer.
Josh Brolin's character.
Yeah. Thanos, yeah. Thanos shows up, and as soon as Thanos shows up, you sort of see a shift.
We're going to confuse some people. Thanos shows up,
no,
he snaps.
Thanos isn't in the movie.
Josh Brolin's
character shows up, and you kind of see a shift in everything as well. It's
yes, you do.
Because I feel like for the whole... Those two like opening acts you're talking about, he's sort of conflicting. He's conflicted in his own head about whether he wants to stay as a Fremen and be a part of their culture, or if he wants to sort of lean into his heritage.
It becomes a revenge story. You're right. It does.
He is trying to get revenge for his dad's death.
Yeah.
So it's like when he's faced with the choice of staying and dying for the Fremen people, or sort of going off and staying alive basically and becoming
defeating the Harkonnens.
Becoming what his dad, the leader of his. What are their people? What was he?
Atreides.
The Atreides.
Leader of the Atreides people and the Fremen people.
Yes.
It's like I think he kind of the visions push him in that direction as well, well as Josh Brolin's character showing up, as well as all these events
definitely. So I think
over the edge.
I'll concede that when you're explaining it to me, it makes more sense. But the vision that they gave us didn't demonstrate the same thing that you're telling to me here.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you don't think that's conveyed as well as it could be
I'm
in
saying
the film.
there's a strong moral compass that he holds up until this scene, even to the start of the scene, and then there's a vision, and like it's just trippy vision stuff, like with a couple of thrown in words of whispers at the background. And like you can pay attention to it and maybe draw out all that stuff, but like it's a 2-minute sequence and it changes the entire course of his character in like the start of the third act, and it's too quick for me.
I think there's also the first Dune film also helps a lot with that. Watching that just before I saw Dune Part 2, I realized that they very much lean to this idea of him not wanting to lead, but then having this incredible relationship with his father. I mean, their relationship in the first film was a real highlight, and you sort of realize how you see the toll that the death of his father and the loss of the Atreides and all the work they were trying to do with sort of working with the Fremen and all like that, it goes to waste, and he sees the damage the Harkonnens are doing. And so I think there is a lot to say from the first film also helping build the character that you realize why Paul may change for this. I'm not saying you're totally right. It probably also helps that we've seen it twice.
Yeah, I would admit that.
Definitely,
maybe you take more out of it the second time.
I think that's how I felt as well. Where I see it's a very visual film. It doesn't tell you a lot. You sort of have to interpret a lot, and I think that's where the second viewing, you're less. I know that you maybe disagree, but less starstruck by the visuals and everything that's going on. But I'm following Paul's journey and his character development a lot more, and that probably helps with our explanation that, you've sort of seen it once. But I definitely understand your opinion, and I think that that's shared by a lot of people. Yeah. So you're totally right.
So I did also briefly touch on Austin Butler's character. So I talked about his look a little bit. As I said, I didn't find him intimidating. I just found him kind of slimy and goofy. But we've talked about that already. The thing that I found kind of bizarre in the choice that they had for it, and I know it's meant to show the Harkonnen as like these ruthless people, but both him and Dave Bautista's character just like randomly killed one of their servants. But like, don't do it twice. Like we get that they're terrible people. Like I feel like it's.
I mean, he was feeding his.
Yeah, no, I know.
Pets
He had his weird women that love livers, but
the cannibal pets that he had.
Yeah, I just like.
As he put
just
it.
watching him go from being played by the Jenny Besserit. I can't say that.
Bene Gesserit.
That's the one.
Jenny Besserit.
Ben Jerry's.
Bene Gesserit.
Watching him get played to that, to then like just like slashing someone's throat just for the sake of it. I feel like it's such a contrast in his character where he's like this kind of like pitiful person who's so easily controlled to like, I'm intimidating, look at me, just kill like this unarmed person. Like I don't find that like compelling to say that they're a powerful villain. Also, the introduction of his character. I know you talked about the arena being such a great sequence, and I'll say it looked fantastic. But he fought two people that were drugged up to lose, and then the third guy.
I agree with you on that.
The third guy was in a prison for like 2 years. Like it's not. A
I
fair fight.
totally
it's not
agree.
An intimidating thing to win.
That's actually what I was trying to say in sort of in the non-spoiler section, where they could have introduced the brutality and the experience and skill set of his character in a better way, where he wasn't fighting people who were drugged.
Yeah, and he
I
also,
agree
like,
with that.
barely
Don't get me
won.
wrong. I think the idea of him fighting the people who are drugged is it's very interesting because it shows sort of like it's all just a public display of someone who's going to take over as, the leader. It's propaganda. And I think that that's absolutely and really cool storytelling as well because, when I love how the Baron says happy birthday when he realizes that the guy's not drugged. And it clearly shows that Vader Alpha literally loves pain. He's, addicted to it. And it's this really interesting part of his character where he gets excited. You see him like drooling. He loves it, right? And I think that that's what freaks you out, where you realize this guy, and that's why I love Austin Butler's performance, where I find that despite the fact that these people are drugged or whatever, the second he comes up against someone who's a worthy adversary, he literally gets off on it. It's crazy.
I think that's the point. I don't think you're meant to fear him as much as just think he's kind of crazy. And then in that, because he's crazy, you just know that he's inevitably got a downfall.
Yes.
And, like, you can sort of, I don't know, it's like, I see what you mean, where I didn't really fear him either. At every point I thought he was just, like, a psychopath, and I think that is, like, what his character's meant to be.
This is, like, once again, it's going to go into something that I know a lot of people won't agree with. I didn't even think him, like, it's someone who, like, pretends they're a psychopath.
But that's also what I mean. It's kind of
I disagree with that. I thought his performance was
I get what
very
you
good.
mean. I think they're trying to say, like, he's this sort of, he's being set up for success in everything.
Yeah.
Even in the fight itself. Normally he wouldn't have to fight anyone that isn't sort of not drugged up. Yeah, I agree. It's like, he's pretending to be this sort of crazy figure that he may not be, as like a coping mechanism, sort of. Maybe he isn't as strong as he thinks he is, and like that's why he's so aggressive, and that's why he's so like walks past his assistant and just slashes his throat.
And it's not like something that you can't have the best of both worlds. Like I can view him as a character who, like TK said, is someone who's pretending to be like intimidating and like a psychopath, but then like he's somewhat calculated and he's just trying to do that to cope with the fact that he's not that powerful of a fighter or something like that. And I can watch it and experience it in that way.
Yeah.
But it was just like the way that I kind of saw it, and I heard a lot of other people talking about his performance, like you've talked about, and you're like,
I mean, I do
he
think
was brilliant, and he was like a psychopath. I'm like, not to me. Like
and that's fair.
I've seen scarier people before. Like, it's,
totally. And I think it just works within the context of the film and the world building of the Harkonnens before that. I just bought him in the role.
Yeah.
I Again, it is personal opinion. I
like
totally
that,
understand
yeah.
your criticisms of it. That's so
and
fair.
I'll move on because I've talked about Austin Butler enough, and I don't want to like rip into him or his character too much because like it wasn't that distracting from the film. If anything, it was still a really good performance. It's still a great addition. It's just me being nitpicky. The other one that kind of comes up is I had a feeling that some of the storylines were less complete in this film as compared to the first one.
That's fair. Yeah.
And there's one that I know for a fact you guys should agree with realistically. The child that Austin Butler has with one of the... Help me out here. What are they called?
Bene Gesserits.
That's the one. I know that's going to be brought up in the next film, but to only have it mentioned one time and like very briefly, it kind of just seems like they're... You know, like when you're like watching a Marvel movie and they have like an Easter egg of like a poster of the villain of the next film or something like that. That's what it came off like to me.
No, and I totally agree, and that's I think that's you're actually hit on something that's correct. Is this film does feel like a part 2 of a 3.
Yeah.
You know, I think you are right. Where don't get me wrong, I would if they didn't make the third for a while. That's what I think. The part 2 has absolutely enough in it that I would love to revisit and things like that. But I do think that it feels like a part 2 of 3, and there's a lot of loose ends. I completely agree with you on.
The other one I was going to talk about, and this is when you were talking about Zendaya's acting and her character. I felt her character was in a bizarre position. I know that they've changed her from the books, where she was like supportive of Paul regardless in the books. Am I not wrong? Like she was initially supportive.
I haven't got that far yet.
What I've heard is that like the Denis Villeneuve changed it to have like a character who very much like represents the opposition to the Messiah mindset, and I appreciate that. If that is something that's definitely happened, I think that's a good change.
It's a good change
because you need like something tangible to attach to the different ideology. My issue was there's 2 things. One, why is she the only one? And 2, I feel like her character disappearing off.
She isn't the only one. She has that friend of hers who actually dies.
Yeah, I know that, but like. Why
there was a few of them. There was
a few. They had
they
like that.
They
did. You're right, but you remember that when they were sitting there and Paul was eating, they had an entire section. They were separated.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that's happening through the film. By the end of the film, it's just her walking off into the desert. It's only her. Like, why is everyone else so solely convinced?
Well, because the Bene Gesserit have managed to do enough work.
I think that's something that needs to be more like openly explored.
Because he does. You see him prove every part of the prophecy.
Yeah, no. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that like. Why is it only her character? Like, there's millions of them. I'm not to pull the, hey, in reality, I would hope more than one person isn't wholly convinced by a religious prophecy.
Yeah.
But, like, I just find it bizarre that it's only her, or at least it isn't explained that, like, there are other people perhaps.
That's probably
they're just going along with it because they want to be a part of the Fremen group.
Yeah,
like, just a passing line.
I feel like I actually know what you mean. I feel like we're meant to assume that there is, but we sort of don't get the time to delve into that. Absolutely.
Well, I think if they do another one, they'll sort of show where she goes, and I imagine there'll be people.
That was my other point. It's like it's a loose end where like she kind of just walks off into the desert, and like you know that her opinion is that she doesn't want to be a part of like this
holy war.
Yeah. But it's like, what are you gonna do then? Like you're going off into the desert to just chill. Like that's fine. Like if I know she's probably gonna appear in the next. Well, she's obviously gonna appear in the next film.
Yeah.
But like that is very much like a loose end type of thing. When you're talking about like the film as a complete, I don't have an issue with it in the trilogy, but if you're talking about like this film as a complete and separate film by itself, you have to talk about how there are like loose ends or like references to what's going to happen in the next movies and stuff like that. And I think that's something you got to address when you're talking about it as a sole film. Like if you want to go, we watch the third one, it's brilliant. And you're like, oh, how do you rate the entire trilogy? Like even if I rate this one an 8, I might push it to a 10 because in whole, it's fantastic.
And that's but it's the same way as I might watch the third one. In my opinion, part 2 might go down. Yeah, that's totally able to happen. And I think especially with the stuff they set up with Paul's sister, is especially like that, where you know she kind of makes a big appearance in a way in terms of she's prevalent throughout the film through talking as a baby, talking fetus. I actually just while we're sort of talking about this, I think you make some really good points. I want to talk about some of the key scenes that stand out, and I just wanted to briefly bring us back to the Gady Prime scene. So that's the black and white scene for people who don't know. That's what it's called. And just I kind of want to just talk about some notes I took down of things that are prevalent in that. Well, so the rules for the Gady Prime, as far as my research took me, is that everything the black sun hits is washed out, which is why when they cut to inside, there is color. Is that the sun takes the color from everything. It makes the world colorless. And they actually did this, and this is where I found it very fascinating while I was watching it, is they used the 3D rig. And on one camera was a color camera and the other was an infrared camera, which sort of detects that detects objects in the distance, things like that. And they use different lights for the infrared, that put out infrared for the infrared camera and different lights for the color camera. So it's very complicated filmmaking. I think people think they just kind of turned it to black and white, but it's not. You watch it, it's very specific black and white. You watched it looks washed out. It looks a very different look to normal black and white films. And I just think I wanted to throw a bit of appreciation to Greg Fraser, the cinematographer, because that's not an easy thing to do. It required multiple cameras, different, they had to build different lenses and camera rigs and stuff like that for it.
He's an Aussie, no?
He's an Aussie, yeah.
Shout out.
Absolutely. Oh, phenomenal work in many films, including the Batman and Rogue One and films like that. He's terrific cinematographer. But I just thought that scene especially really showcased what he can do, and that was terrific. I think another one we have to talk about is Paul riding the worm.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene.
Stop laughing.
I would say that was my favorite scene of the movie.
I think it would be mine as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was terrific. The blender practical and CG, the sound design where you heard the sand engulf him.
The sand, Toby.
The sand. There was a lot of sand.
On Earth again?
About 5. There's at least 5.
At least that's probably true.
I just thought that scene was terrific. And I know you TK shared that.
That was my favorite
opinion as well.
That was a very good scene. It's a brilliant scene.
What would you say yours favorite scene in the film?
Oh, I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon. That was a very good scene. I'm trying to think what else could be. I really enjoyed the scene when they're taking out the harvester.
Yes.
With
yeah.
The launcher. I don't
that's
think it's
great.
Like, stunning. I just think it's a
mosquito.
Yeah, flying mosquito. It's a dragonfly.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Ornithopter.
Yeah, they do have names too.
I think it's
Ornithopter.
I'm gonna go with mosquito and be wrong.
Why? That's just okay. Yeah, no, that scene's really good. I don't know if it's like as visually stunning. As some of the other scenes. It's so hard to say.
That is a cool scene.
Because
suspenseful.
I think it's one of the better fight scenes.
Yes.
Oh, the scene
where the 3 sandworms come out at the end.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Terrific.
I was gonna say the scene where they shoot the ant with the rockets, and then it's all like cloudy, like sand.
Yeah.
And then they all just start popping up out of the sand.
That's
and,
terrific.
Coming across. That's
I really liked when Dave Bautista is walking towards one of the features, and suddenly you just see Paul's character just come out and start taking out people around him.
Yeah.
And then the light flashes.
That's what I'm talking
about.
That's
the one.
that's
sorry, that's the one you are talking about.
Like
That is
sandy
dusty. That's a brilliant
So
scene.
there's lots of very memorable scenes. That's the thing. I don't want to pick one because I need to rewatch it to we think wow, that one was really good. You bring up a good point though. That scene was brilliant.
Yeah.
And it really showed his character is intimidating.
Yeah.
More so than Elvis Presley was.
And just the scene where he sort of confirms he's the Lisan Al Gaib to everyone. I thought that was really great. And Timothy Chalamet's acting in that was terrific as well.
He was
brilliant scene.
He's what?
No, don't worry.
Lisan Al Gaib.
I was just saying,
Yeah.
Oh, you said he's so ugly. I'm I feel like so many people disagree with you.
I did not say that for the record.
Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say before I sort of give a bit of a roundup on how well it's doing in the box office? And things like
I want to really quickly talk about pacing again.
Go for it.
Do you want to go PK?
I had one interesting thing I saw. I saw a video on the internet about Dune 2, obviously. It was this guy making a comment about how he found it amazing that this movie was... So obviously this movie is a cinematic masterpiece, in terms of what they achieved with their tech and all that, and the shots they did.
Yeah.
And their budget was... I think their budget was something like 180 million,
I think it was 190,
something like that.
That's what I had. Yeah.
And this guy was basically saying how he was amazed at how they managed to make that with that budget, and then he compared it to some other movies that had much larger budgets.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to...
Dish, baby.
Well, he was comparing it to the Marvels and
Sure.
And what was the other one? Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and those movies had upwards of $250 million of budget.
Yeah.
And they're not doing anywhere near as well, obviously, critically. And you can't compare, I guess. But
I mean, it's not cruel to say that, I think the cinematography in Dune Part 2 is probably better than either.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
It's also a genre thing. You're doing a superhero film, you're not going to have, brilliant shots more often than
No, but
not.
I guess the thing is it's CG. They're limited by
Yeah, that's what I was
CG.
saying to you as well. You can't film in space. For Dune, they filmed a lot of stuff in deserts. They went to Abu Dhabi.
Film in space. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
Imagine the production budget
Yeah,
on that one.
well, I was just thinking, I guess with these movies that come out with such large budgets, you'd think it sometimes just feels like they're not putting in the effort that is relevant to the budget, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, I think it's the CG and
the CG does affect
you're
it. Like,
talking
I
about,
guess I
like,
can't say.
Marvel CG. I feel like a lot of the CGI work is very much overworked in Marvel. When
Yeah,
you're talking
definitely.
about like the quality and like they cop it. Like what was that Thor: Love and Thunder one that
Yeah.
everyone was joking on? Like it's really hard. I feel like for a lot of the animators and stuff like that, because like they've just got expectations and due
definitely, yeah.
dates and stuff like
Definitely.
that, and the likes of Dune, which a lot of it was practical effect.
Yeah.
Not to say that they didn't have fantastic CGI
Oh, of course. Yeah.
work as
CGI
well, but
shots.
like it certainly makes it like more stunning when you can do practical effects as much as possible, and then you don't have to rush your CGI work as well.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting sort of.
No, it absolutely is, because I saw the same thing. The budget was not as well. It's big,
It's a big
but
budget,
it's a big
definitely.
budget. But we've seen a lot of major films come out with double the budget
then-
they had.
and
You know,
then
Indiana Jones films like that as
And
well.
they get half the rating of the.
Yeah,
of
and
the-
I think it comes
I just
down
think-
to that they clearly didn't rush this production. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
2021 was when the first Dune came out. They started pretty soon after that one came out, and we're in 2024 now. You know, I think it also comes down to how much time you give a production.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like effort.
Yeah.
And it's also what you're given. Like,
Yes, I think that's
It's
it as
like-
well. There's a lot of law
yeah, there's
behind this one.
limitations to other sort of things. Yeah.
No, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say about pacing is I just thought and I know it's for the sake of story, the final fight was perhaps underwhelming as compared to what it could have been.
Yeah.
As in, like, it's the final act.
I
It's
mean,
maybe
a large.
yeah, like it's like 10 minutes long. And
I
like I
agree.
know it's meant to show off how powerful the Fremen are.
Th-
but, like,
that's
it's-
what
it's
that's
meant
my
to just be a
interpretation.
wash. Like it's just meant to be like the Fremen wipe
What?
them.
Yes.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
they,
And I
they
bought
don't
that.
expect it. Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
expect it, but like I think it when you're talking about the Emperor's character and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it just makes them seem all the less like powerful in contrast.
Yeah.
And once again,
I
that's
agree with that.
Probably the point.
Yeah, I think the
It-
Emperor's not.
but-
The Emperor's not.
but,
meant
I
to
mean,
be-
it's
we
just-
always know that we always knew the Fremen were more powerful than the Sardaukar.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the point. But I agree with you.
Yeah, I think when you're like, I'm not going to say like, you know, trolling your way through a 2.5-hour film. Like you're enjoying a 2.5-hour film, but like when you get to like this massive action set
Crescendo.
piece at the end,
Yeah.
and it's a 10-minute wash, like. Even if it's like the easiest fight, I feel like they could have indulged a little bit more, just for my
Sure.
sake. I would love to see like
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet just punch someone around, and like,
Yeah.
that would have just been fun for me. But, like
Yeah.
that's like a criticism just based.
Yeah, I
on
agree.
No,
There's
no,
a
fair.
point where they kind of just you hear loud noises and they're in
Yeah.
the ship. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it comes down to runtime as well. I think 2 hours 47 minutes. There's a lot of story to get through, but I do absolutely know what
Another
you're
10
saying.
minutes wouldn't have killed him.
I really enjoyed the final knife fight between Fade Routher and Paul Atreides. I think May Thy Knife Chip and Shatter. I loved it. I really thought it was great. I thought it was well choreographed. I thought the emotional beat of it with obviously him accepting the daughter of the Emperor, and kind of screwing over Zendaya's character, I thought was really impactful, and I genuinely, as you know, gasped out in the cinema, and a lot of other people did too. Yeah, but it really worked for me, and I thought it was really powerful, and I didn't see it coming. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a really powerful moment. So
Yeah.
I agree with you on that, but I did think the final knife fight was really great, and obviously a really nice homage to the first one as well, which ended with a knife fight of Paul sort of becoming a Fremen, now kind of becoming the Emperor in a way, and I thought that was really cool.
Him.
I also just wanted to say there's some news surrounding Dune Part 2 that's worth mentioning, that director Denis Villeneuve arranged an early screening of the film for a dying fan a month before the film was released. Just shows that he's a really great director and cares about his fans and his audience, and you know, made the effort that despite what spoilers and stuff could be out, he just it's great that he does that he cares to show the film to one member, and
Definitely,
it's
yeah.
really a beautiful thing that he did.
Is it the One Piece manga writer who told the fan how One Piece
Yeah,
ends,
that's
and it's
right,
still
yeah.
going like 5 years later?
Yeah.
Still making it.
Jeez.
Wow. I just wanted to briefly touch on how Dune Part 2 is doing at the box office. So, as of now, it has earned over 82.5 million USD in its domestic opening. Worldwide, it has reached just under 200 million USD. So that's really good. That's pretty good. It is obviously the highest earning film of 2024. It is the highest earning. It's the best opening that Denis Villeneuve has ever had in the US. To put it into kind of perspective, Dune Part 1 had an opening of 41 million. So basically, Dune Part 2 has doubled it.
Yeah.
And Dune Part 1 earned a total of 433 million, and Dune Part 2 we're in its just at the end of its first week, and it's already earned just under 200 mil. So
That's crazy,
it's done really well. People are going out to the theaters to see this one. I think that's really exciting. For any of you out there, if you love science fiction and you love the first Dune film, I think all three of us would absolutely say you should go out and see this film.
Yep.
Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up?
No. I think long podcast. Let's get it done. We also got the Oscars podcast that we're hoping to release as well. So if you want to hear some of our predictions for that, hopefully that's released just as soon. And then you can watch the Oscars and see if we were right.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited to see who our predictions and see who got the most predictions correct. We're excited to bring that one up. We'd like to thank TK, our special guest on this week's podcast. He's also going to be joining us for the Oscars, but we are really excited to have him here. We hope you enjoyed him. Thank you so much for joining the Club Podcast. We really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
Glad. Thank you so much for listening to this week. We hope you have a really great day.
Yeah.
And
or night.
Or night.
Evening or
we don't know
morning.
But go out and see Dune Part 2.
Outside of time.
Go out and see Dune Part 2. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.